This is the final sesh for AQA Paper 1. First things, know what to expect. So Paper 1, 1 hour, 45 minutes. 3 sections, A, B and C. And be sure to check out the recap videos to checklist everything. Remember, you're going to be faced with Units 1 and 2 and Units 3 and 4 in Paper 1. These videos, although they're quick in terms of going through all the content, if you see something there and you really don't know what it is, worst case scenario, you've never even heard of it, then make sure you go ahead, look for the appropriate video, and then you will be ready for tomorrow. Know what to expect, Part 2. Section A, 20 marks on offer. It will start with 6 multiple choice questions, and then you will have the remaining 14 marks, which will be made up of 2 markers, likely explain 2 markers. Of course, it finishes with a 4 marker, but that is essentially just 2 markers put together there at the end of Section A. Section B will be 35-ish marks, could be a bit more, could be a bit less. It will have a context. There is no context in Section A, and that context will likely include 2 9 markers. Section C, again, 35-ish marks, could be a bit more, could be a bit less. There will be a context, a new context here, and that context will build through several case studies or extracts or items, whatever you want to call them. It will build into that 12 marker. Now, Section A tips. Multiple choice questions, be neat, be tidy. The correct method is as so. If you have an issue and you realise that you've gone for the wrong one, change your mind, cross out the wrong answer like so. Just chill. And then make the correct answer like so. 2 markers. Now, Section A, you'll have lots of 2 markers. Likely to be explain, and they have 1 in bold. It cannot be in huge font, underlined, italic. It will just say 1 in bold. Listen to it. That means explain 1, not 2. Explain 1 method means 1 method with 2 points to get those 2 marks. In Section A, generally you want to be swift but accurate. Don't overwrite to these answers, particularly 2 markers. You don't need 6 sentences. You're looking at 20 minutes-ish for this section. Section B. This is the context side. The context starts now, and it will usually start with an initial case study, followed up by smaller questions. We'll call these SQs, and they will lead into a 9 marker, the first 9 marker. Then you will have another extract or item about the same business, but there'll be some development to the story from the original item you saw at the start of Section B. Perhaps it's altering its product range, or it's a few years later, or something's changed, but it's always worth here checking or maybe mentioning if the business objectives have changed over this period. Then you will have more SQs leading into another 9 marker. For the 9 marker, be sure to respect the question. If it has something in bold in the question, for example, if it says, how could they use XYZ to improve market share, to improve customer service, to improve quality, then you need to ensure your answers are tight to what they have put in bold. So ensure your answers are focused on that specific concept that they want you to talk about. Don't be loose with your answer. Remember, simply put, the structure for 9 markers is for, against, conclusion, FAC. With a bit of it depends on thrown in for evaluation to get into that level 3. Now, 9 markers, make sure your structure is there. 3 nice, juicy paragraphs, in depth. Section B. You might get a 5 marker calculation in Section B, and if it's not there, it will be in Section C. Key things, do not forget to write the formula down. There is 1 mark for that formula. If you haven't got a clue about the numbers, they spook you, keep it real. 1 mark for the formula. You will know the formulas. We'll get to that later. Give it a go. There's still method marks out there. You might still get a 2 out of 5, you might still get 3 out of 5. Still, as I said, know the formulas. Let's go through those likely Paper 1 formulas. So profit equals revenue minus total costs. Revenue equals price times quantity. Total costs equals fixed costs, those that do not change with output, plus variable costs. Now variable costs is the variable cost per unit, per one, times by how many units. Percentage change, you're thinking new, so N-O-O, new number minus old number divided by old number times by 100. Now if the number is already expressed in a percentage and you look to do a change in percentage, then you just subtract the difference between those numbers. If the number is in raw numbers, that's when you do a percentage change. Section C tips. So again, this will be a context question, usually with an initial case study, followed up by smaller questions leading into possibly as high as a 6 marker. And then you will have another extract or item followed again by shorter questions leading into probably a 6 marker again. And then you will have one more context leading in to the 12 marker. That's the final question of the paper if you choose to do your paper sequentially, i.e. in order of questions. You do not have to do that. That is your choice in terms of your strategy for the exam. Section C. Be careful though of the cheeky 4 marker. Now the cheeky 4 markers are those where there's 2 marks for knowledge. And on the face of it you might read the question and think that's a nice question. And you get 2 marks for knowledge of the concept in the question. Usually the easy 2 marks. But there's another 2 marks for application to the context. Don't drop those. It's so easy to slip up there and score a 2 out of 4. So ensure you apply your answer to the context, and these marks are usually the ones that are dropped. Remember, that's the cheeky question. Be sure to connect your knowledge here, AO1, to the context, AO2. Section C tips. The 12 marker examiner's reports mentioned last year, responses were focused on too many pros and cons of both options. So lots of points, but no real depth to them, underdeveloped points, so be careful of that. Remember, you're looking for one detailed paragraph on each bullet point, each of those 2 bullet points you've been given. If there's data available, there's likely to be a table or a bar chart, or it's mentioned in the numbers in the context, well, use that data. Use it to support your choice. That would be the AJ, the justification, and justification through numbers being a quantitative method would be fantastico. If both bullet points say the costs of doing the choice are identical, they're both the same amount in cost for doing each of the 2 bullet points, then it's not a point, it's a non-goer, it's not a point to be mentioned, and that has come up in previous years. So I'll say that one more time because it's so important. If both bullet points say the costs of doing the choice are identical, like both are going to cost £50,000, which choice should you go for? Well, it says both cost the same, so you can't mention cost of each because it's not a point. I hope that helps. Best of luck tomorrow. See you at the next sesh.